Okay. Testing. Influence of rice in China. Some things you might want to know are the history and geography of it. There are two dynasties that we'll be talking about in this specific slide, and that would be the Han dynasty and the Zhao dynasty. The Zhao dynasty, which was in the eastern region of China, lasted about 600 to 700 years. It was the longest dynasty regime in the Chinese history, and the Zhao dynasty's political and cultural beliefs were uh, remaining remained with China for the next 2,000 years. And in the southern region of China, which was the Han Dynasty, that only lasted about 400 years, but it was still pretty long. It was founded by Liu Bang, and it was ruled by the House of Liu. It was considered a golden age in Chinese history, and it had a really big impact on the identity of the Chinese civilization. The emperor had a lot of power at the Han Dynasty, but he also did have to share some of the power with nobilities and appointed ministers, and he did adopt a Confucian ideology. With rice in the eastern region, it was really popular, and not just in China. Inscriptions on bronze vessels found in the eastern region of China showed on how to store rice and how it was preserved. Rice was a huge role in being a part of meals for aristocrats. In the southern region of China, a new development in farming techniques were made in order to farm and produce rice in the most efficient manner. Rice began to make its way down to southern China as rice led to farming, and rice was mainly grown in paddy fields near the Yangtze River. And as you can see, the Yangtze River is provided on the map on how close it is around the southern region of China, but in person, as you look down below, um, the Yangtze River is really nice. It's really nice today, and as you can tell, it was probably the best and most ideological um, area to farm rice and produce rice without it going bad. Cooked steam rice. Before the rice cooker technology was even available, there had to be some way to make rice, right? And that way was the traditional method. In the traditional method, you would soak the rice in water, and then you would drain that dirty water out, and then you add fresh water before you boil it or steam it per se. Now we can use our stoves, right? But back then they didn't have stoves like us, so that would have been taking a longer time. But you would just cook the rice for 10 to 15 minutes or 20 to 25 minutes, depending on the type of rice, whether it was brown or white. And iron pots or non-stick pots are also used as well, and people nowadays use the rice cooker preferably, but there are a lot of people that still use the traditional method. And you may ask why, if it was so inconvenient, or it just seemed like a lot of work for someone to do when a rice cooker is doing all that while being simplified, right? The reason for that is not many people can afford a rice cooker. It is pretty expensive and costly, so a lot of people in lower incomes or a lower middle class may not be able to afford that type of technology. And there are some families who still have that belief that traditional rice, although may take longer, it does taste better in their opinion. And there's nothing wrong with that, because either way, whether it's the traditional way or the new method of, using the newest technology available to cook rice in a fast and efficient way, it really doesn't matter, as it all really comes down to preference and economically, can you afford it or not, and what is the next best option. Next, we got fried rice. And fried rice, you may just think, oh, it's just some rice, and you fry it with soy sauce and stuff. Super simple, right? But why do you think fried rice was actually invented? Well, it was actually invented in order to save rice waste. And this is really convenient because, instead of just throwing the old rice out every time you have leftovers where you just cook too much excess, it conserves the food, and it's also really cheap to make because of you being able to preserve the food, such as the rice and the veggies, meat, etc., whatever you may put on it, you know, um, a lot of the foods that might go past their preferred fresh date to be eaten can actually be eaten healthily while not affecting your body at all. And as mentioned, with it being cheap and convenient, this was perfect for low income families to provide a meal for them and their families. This likely existed in the 6th century during the Sui dynasty. And in the Sui dynasty, it was the shortest dynasty. It was about 40 years. It was compared to the Zhao and Han dynasty, it's beyond short. But the emperor and his successor did try and take a lot of centralized reforms with the intent to reduce economic inequality and by improving the agriculture productivity. Fried rice became really popular in southern China as that region was already known to eat a lot of rice by itself. Fried rice did originate in China, but now it's all over the world. So fried rice can't just, say, oh, it's only a Chinese food. Every country now has some form of fried rice out there to their own specific taste. Congee slash rice porridge, or also known as rice gruel. There is no necessarily a right name for it. All three are used to describe it. It just depends on the region, or it depends on the culture, or it depends on even the family members on what they call it. I know for my family, we usually call it congee or rice porridge. I know when I used to live with my grandma back when I was a little kid, we did call it rice gruel. So it really just depends on, the family and how you were told what the name was, but there's a bunch of different names and none of it is considered wrong at all. It was mostly usually eaten during breakfast with cold sides such as kimchi or pickled vegetables or, whatever cold sides you could think of. It's been consumed for about 3,000 years, so it's not like it was just a brand new thing. It's been eaten for quite some time. And it appeared in the South and East Asian texts during the Zhao dynasty. And many have also turned it into a dessert or side, depending on how it's made. And there are sides out there. I forgot what it's called, but I know in Asian markets it's usually in a can, and you would open the can up, and there would be the congee slash rice porridge, and it was like a sweet taste, and it was super good. Like I could eat it for days. I actually would kill like 6 packs. It came in a 6 pack. I would kill all 6 in one day. Fortunately, my parents were not happy at me for doing that because I did not eat dinner for the rest of the night. But that is how good it is. It is really good. It's also a cheap way to make food. And, with it being cheap and efficient, it's also healthy while being cost efficient. So a lot of families can afford this type of meal. Popular Chinese rice dishes. Obviously, I have mentioned fried rice. The lotus leaf rice, it may look complex as you see at the picture above, but it's literally just rice with some meat and stuff and some eggs or whatever it may be, and it's literally just covered in the lotus leaf. But usually when you go to supermarkets, they do cover it with like these small little rope bands, and you would just have to like unravel them, or me personally, I'm too lazy, so I just use a scissor and cut it open. But it is super good, and I want you guys to try it out. It's super good. I think everyone will like it. Definitely eat it hot though. Definitely don't let it get cold for sure. And then there's omni rice. It might sound complex and you might not know what it is, but from the name, omni rice, you could think of it as omelet and rice combined into one. And it's basically fried rice inside an omelet, and the preferred topping is usually ketchup. But you can add whatever you want, though. There is no wrong method. But there's a lot of different ways you could cook this. It is one of the harder dishes, though. I know some people do prefer to have the eggs a bit runny in the inside. So when you cut open the omelet, um, the egg yolk is just soaking into the rice, making it a more enriching experience for some, depending on what your taste is like. And then there's rice and curry and braised pork over rice. Those two are just simple meals. It's literally just like, rice with some meat and stuff. You could do the same with like rice and tofu, like whether you're vegan or omnivore or, whatever your taste may be, rice can go with anything. There is no wrong options that can be paired with rice. My local recommendations for anyone that want to try some good places that have rice mainly as the focus is Eastern Winds that is located in Fremont. I believe they have another location. I don't know if it's still open or not, but Eastern Winds is really solid. It's a cheap place while also being really good. I know the workers are super nice and they do give you discounts as well too sometimes. And the greatest benefit is if you go in person, I don't know if they still do this, but last time I went, I know for sure they just gave you a free cup and you could just get unlimited refills from their soda machine. It's amazing. It's actually amazing. And the free fortune cookies and free soy sauce and free hot sauce packets, like, it can't be beat. Obviously, if you take it to go, you probably will have to pay for a drink, but if you go in person, that's where you get your money's worth. Sizzling Lunch is another great option. There's one in Newark, San Jose. I believe there's one in Cupertino as well. There's a lot of locations, not just in the Bay, but in SoCal too, I believe. So it really varies on where it could be located, but it is pretty close to San Jose, Fremont, Newark area as well. The great thing about this is there's rice and then, some toppings on top, right? And then they have the meats on the side. And then for what I do, I usually just like mix it around, let the meat cook while the pot is still hot and sizzling and stuff. And then I just dig in right away. It's just amazing. It was something I never tried before. I believe I tried Sizzling Lunch last year or 2 years ago, and it's a great experience for me, and it would be a great experience for you guys. You guys for listening, and hopefully you guys got something out of this presentation, whether it's on the culture of rice or maybe even some good food places to eat. It's a great benefit to everyone. So hope you guys enjoyed that.